My identity development as a Vietnamese was marked by 3 phrases. The first one is người nước ngoài, foreigners. This is where I spent the first 18 years of my life. Rice fields, outskirts in the northern city of Vietnam. Now, unlike the US where the suburban suggests a wealthy life, Vietnamese suburban is where most of the blue-collar population live. I grew up in a culture that couldn't be more traditional. In that culture, I often hear the word người nước ngoài. When it's used, it's often in the senses like, oh, the foreigners are more educated, or, oh, Vietnamese people would never catch up the foreigners. Phrase 2. In my country. Then I moved to Minerva, an international cohort of 160 students from 40 different countries. Here, one of the most frequent phrases you can hear is, in my country. I remember one day sharing an Indian dish with an Indian friend, and he was eating by hand. He said, in my country, you gotta eat by hand. I know it beforehand. I've seen some humanitarian documentaries where poor Indian people eat by their hands. But I've never seen anyone eat by their hand with so much enthusiasm and joy. I've never thought of that. At that moment, there was a switch turned on in my head. I started to realize something unconscious happening. It was phrase 3. Colonial mentality. The time at Minerva is also the time I start to read anthropology books about Eastern culture. Ones like The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down, discussing a Hmong family migrating to the US, or Things Fall Apart, describing the life of a Nigerian tribe just at the beginning of colonialism. All those books discussed cultures with curious, reflective eyes, putting no culture above or below the other. It illuminates my internalized sense of inferiority, a subconscious colonial mentality that I've been carrying. It was as if years after the war ended, generations still bear oppression without the presence of the oppressors. It manifests in many forms.
Tôi thấy cộng đồng người Tây ở nước ngoài họ khá là bảo vệ nhau, trong khi người Việt ở trong môi trường đấy lại hay tìm cách để kèn cựa nhau, để lấy lòng Tây.
Đương nhiên là mình da vàng ấy thì thậm chí là đôi khi là bản thân mỗi người khi da đen mà nhìn một người da trắng và rất là mịn màng, trông nó sáng sủa, nó ra ngời đấy thì mình cũng thấy nó đẹp.
Or in this real estate advertisement.
Là địa Trung Hải, thiên đường của thế giới, là âm hưởng châu Âu tại thành phố Hoa Phượng Đỏ, là tương lai phát triển không ngừng cho đẳng cấp vượt thời gian.
This ad speaks directly to my first phrase, foreigners. As an unsaid rule, when you say người nước ngoài, you don't mean Indonesian or Nigerian. It means developed countries' citizens, the British, the Americans, Koreans, Europeans, or Japanese. The most dangerous consequence of this mentality is not how it invades the media, but the passive attitude of many Vietnamese. It encapsulates that only foreigners are capable, and Vietnam will never catch up with other countries. It's a deprecating, self-fulfilling prophecy. It stops people from even trying to improve the conditions. It beckons outsider savior. I'm sharing my story not to introduce religious attachment to old values or even nationalism. I'm sharing to offer another perspective. I'm sharing because I believe that there exists a power of choice within each of us, especially the younger generations. What we buy, the stories we broadcast, the fights that we have with our parents, or even bigger issues. Whether we will face our problem or run away for a better country. Whether a policymaker will destroy an old heritage for a Western shopping mall. Who knows what dilemma will you face? But for once, I hope you can see more than just Western-centric values.